Texas Governor Greg Abbott said today that law enforcement and other officials implementing sanctuary policies that release criminal aliens with immigration detainers will be now subject to the stiffest penalties in America. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host on this fourth hour. We have a lot of breaking news. Of course, we've had Governor Abbott here in Texas sign a law that will not allow sanctuary for criminal sheriffs. And it began really here in Austin with our sheriff who just got reelected, Sally Hernandez. We'll talk about that in a moment. We'll also talk about, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to author George Neumeyer, who has written a book called The Political Pope. I thought it would be interesting to talk about the back and forth within the Catholic Church about the Pope's politics and how active he is in politics as we see all this discussion about the Johnson Amendment. You know, it's kind of interesting. Nobody is saying that the Catholic Church ought to lose any tax deductions because of the Pope's political activism. But there are people within Protestant churches as well who are saying, well, maybe we don't want to have that kind of discussion in these churches. I think that the churches ought to be able to have their own discussion as to make their own decision as we're not going to be political or not. Anyway, we're going to talk to him at the bottom of the hour. We're going to put a perspective on this on the Catholic side. And, of course, as the Protestant side is talking a great deal about the Johnson Amendment, it provides an interesting context for that. Before I get to that, I just want to say real quickly, thank you so much for all your support that you've given us over the last week, especially through the 30-hour broadcast that we did. And a reminder that we do have Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste, one of my two favorite supplements that's now back in stock, $9.95, 33% off retail. You know, if you sign up for AutoShip, that would basically make everything so simple for our operation here because we would know what is coming down the line. We would know what demand is going to be. We wouldn't be running in and out of some of the more popular products so quickly. So just consider AutoShip. You get a 10% discount. If you sign up for more than $50 at a time on AutoShip, you get free shipping as well. So think about that. That helps to make sure that you never run out of the supplements that you want on a daily basis. And I guarantee you, if you try this toothpaste, you're going to want to have that as your toothpaste because I have tried a lot of different toothpastes. I've tried a lot of different fluoride-free toothpastes, and I haven't found anything with fluoride or without that leaves my mouth feeling as fresh as this does. How many toothpastes are you going to get with nano silver in it? All right, I want to go, and of course, you can find all that at InfoWarsStore.com, and that is 33% off retail right now. And of course, you can also sign up for AutoShip. Let's talk about what's going on here in Texas with the governor's bill. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said today that law enforcement and other officials implementing sanctuary policies that release criminal aliens with immigration detainers will be now subject to the stiffest penalties in America. And we have to understand, right here in Travis County, this is really where it's come to a head. I attended a meeting of the, I guess it was, let's see, what was the organization they had? It was an initiative that was started by George Bush, where they would tell the immigration officials if they had criminals that they had arrested. And there was a Democrat sheriff at the time, a black man, and he was getting ripped apart by the Democrat Party because he was turning over criminals to immigration. And we've seen the same thing happen in California. As soon as Trump was elected, we had all these amnesty groups that were saying we need to hide these lists of gang members from Donald Trump because he would deport them and because he might get somebody who wasn't a gang member who was actually put on that list by mistake. So we want to hide and protect even the gang members so that we don't have somebody deported by accident who just happens to be only a foreign citizen who is criminally trespassing in the United States. That's their only crime. So let's not deport those people. Let's leave them here, and let's even leave known gang members here because we know that that's what Donald Trump wants to do is to deport them. And, of course, what we have here in Texas, I think, is very needed. There's been a lot of pushback. We've had Democrat legislators as well as the news media here in Texas pushing back against this, characterizing it as something that is not going to fly, that's not legal. And, of course, Dallas Morning News is right at the center of that. A Democrat state representative said that this law is unconstitutional because states are preempted by federal law in the area of immigration and are not permitted to conduct their own investigation. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is inquiring about their immigration status and turning them over to the federal officials. The people at the meeting that I went to here in Travis County before this black sheriff was defeated. I don't know if he was defeated or if he just decided that he wasn't going to run for re-election because he wasn't going to make it. And this is the first term of Sally Hernandez, the woman who replaced him, of course, a Democrat. But when I was at that meeting, they were just incensed that anyone who had committed any crime of any nature would be ever turned over to immigration authorities. They'd be reported, be investigated. And Governor Abbott addressed this. He told Breitbart, Texas, this is their article here, that the Dallas Morning News directly misstated what the legal status of the law was out of the U.S. Supreme Court in the Arizona decision. He said the so-called controversial part of this law is what some label as the show me your papers component. He said what everyone seems to get wrong is they think the provision was stricken down in the Arizona law. He said to the contrary, the provision in the Arizona law is stricter than in the Texas law. The Arizona law required law enforcement to ask for papers. That's not the case here in Texas. He said, but despite the difference and the fact that the Arizona law was stricter, the Arizona law was upheld by every U.S. Supreme Court justice, including the liberals. The so-called controversial part of this law has been ruled on by the U.S. Supreme Court and upheld, with even the liberal justices upholding that law. And they said the police can already inquire about the immigration status of a person that they detain, so that part of it hasn't changed. What has changed is that you had people like Sally Hernandez, and remember when she first took office, she was one of the most activist sheriffs in the country. And she said, I'm not going to report people to immigration unless they've committed 3 crimes. She had 3 crimes. And then a little while after that, somebody said, you know what, we've got this guy here who's been arrested. He's an illegal alien, and he's had multiple sexual assault offenses, including some against children. And you're not reporting him. That's not on your list of 3 crimes. And she goes, oh, well, okay. I will not report for 4 crimes. Okay, it's kind of like the Spanish Inquisition with Monty Python. You know, nobody expects the Hispanic Inquisition. So it's like, no, there are 4 crimes. Now there's 5. Now there's 6. Well, it's like, why don't you report them in the first place and let immigration sort this out? And as the governor pointed out, the Kate Steinle, who was killed in San Francisco, who was murdered, was an illegal alien or a foreign citizen criminally trespassing in America, let's put it that way, who was released from a jail here in Texas. So he's released from a jail here in Texas. He goes to San Francisco, and he kills this woman for no reason at all. Kate Steinle, who became a centerpiece of the Trump campaign. He said this law makes Texans safer because it prevents the types of policies that California has that led to the tragic murder of Kate Steinle. He says it prevents the types of policies that were adopted by the Travis County Sheriff here, who had policies that released back out on the street people who are either accused of or even convicted of dangerous crimes. And at the same time this is happening, we've got a sheriff in Long Island, Suffolk County, where my wife is from, took to the airwaves yesterday criticizing Obama's immigration policies. Why? Because they have MS-13, hacking people with machetes. Same thing that's happening in Maryland. This is a gang that is El Salvadoran in nature, and it really began in L.A., but now it has spread from the southwestern United States to the northeastern. It's spread all the way across the country. Very heavy in the Maryland area. Maryland is proud of the fact that they have a lot of sanctuary cities. They're going to try to become the first sanctuary state, but it's also happening in Long Island. The sheriff in Long Island blamed Obama for the recent rash of murders that have been linked to MS-13 gang activities across Long Island, and he applauded Attorney General Jeff Sessions for saying that he's going to address MS-13. This is what the sheriff on Long Island said. He said, in the community of Brentwood, where there's a big El Salvadoran population, we have had over the last 9 months or so 11 bodies that have turned up. He said the victims, many of whom were high schoolers who were Hispanic folks. This isn't a racial issue here. This is a gang war issue. Many of these people came to this country because they wanted to escape stuff like MS-13. And because we have open borders, MS-13 just follows them across. And they're going to be killing, they're not going to be paying attention to just killing Hispanic people. They're going to be equal opportunity murderers. But right now, they're focused primarily on the community in which they live, because these are people who are either in a rival gang or who are not in their gang or who are part of their gang and they didn't do what they wanted them to do. So that's why this is centered on that right now. But we don't see that happening with anybody. I mean, do you? Why is it that the immigration advocates don't have any compassion for Hispanic migrants who come here and are victims of MS-13? He said they've been targeted for refusing to join the gang or for defecting from its ranks. He said a large portion of MS-13 gang members are here illegally. They arrive in this country through, guess what? The unaccompanied minor program. They're dreamers. They're dreamers who came here under Obama's relaxed rules. And as we said before, you know, the people who are coming here and they're saying these are minors turning up, people like Glenn Beck showing up at the border with teddy bears for MS-13 members. I mean, seriously, folks, do you really think that 8-year-olds are making the trip across the border, across Mexico, across Central America by themselves as unaccompanied minors? That whole thing is a lie. It's an absurd lie. These people that Glenn Beck and others are showing up, handing out teddy bears to these people. If they need teddy bears, they didn't come here unaccompanied. No, they came here. The border is controlled. As we've talked to people, a Breitbart reporter who's part of the border project that they have, he said, the border has controls on it. It's not a completely open border. The people who control it are the gang members. And, of course, the gang members themselves are young, strapling characters who come here for a free education, but they're going to give us an education in gang warfare. As the sheriff said, the MS-13 mantra is kill, rape, and control. That's what they're about, folks. We got to stop it.
In ancient times, man roamed the earth in a constant state of hunting or being hunted. Introducing Caveman, where cutting-edge science meets ancient super nutrients. Secure your bottle right now at InfoWarsStore.com.